What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about a feature that was added to Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer a while back, and it's something that was added in behind the scenes. A lot of people missed this. I actually missed this for quite some time until I ended up finding out about it. And this is the ability to see the data centers that are being used, as well as your ping to those data centers for Cold War. And the main reason I wanted to turn this into a video is when looking at these data centers, like I said, you can see your ping to the various data centers, and as I looked at this list, something just didn't add up here. One of the big mottos in the past, whenever it came to matchmaking, was ping is king. This is something David Vonderhaar has said several times in the past as far as I'm aware. And essentially the whole idea behind ping is king is when you're searching for a game, there are many variables that are taken into account, but the number one variable is always ping. It's always on top. Ping is king. However, when I look at this list of data centers and my ping to these data centers based on this menu, this doesn't align with the ping values that I typically see in-game. And it's not like it's just a little bit off. It is way off. So looking at this list here, which is in order, the best ping that I can apparently get is on the US West servers with a 38 millisecond ping, which would be amazing. I have literally never seen a ping value that low though in-game. The best I will typically see is somewhere between 45 to 50 milliseconds, which I guess that kind of lines up with the next available server here, and I guess that's still fine. Like, that's still a very acceptable ping value for a first-person shooter. However, the problem with this is I very frequently don't see this 45 to 50 ping value. If I did, I wouldn't have any issues here. I wouldn't be complaining about this. I probably wouldn't even be making this video. The problem I noticed is oftentimes while I'm playing, I find myself with a ping value of roughly 100 milliseconds. This isn't just some random one-off rare occurrence. This happens very frequently. And anybody that's been watching my streams knows that this isn't an exaggeration. I've been trying to get better at checking my ping in-game every single time I get into a match, and it's very, very common that I get 100 ping, or roughly 100 ping, when I know that I'm perfectly capable of getting 50 ping, or when looking at this list, it looks like even 38 ping. So this prompted me to do a little bit of data collection. I always like having some real data and some numbers behind what I'm saying here. And what I did here is I searched for 40 games of domination only, because that's typically what I'll play, so that's a realistic sort of scenario, while playing solo with crossplay enabled. So this means my connection and matchmaking stuff isn't going to be impacted by playing with other people that are maybe on the other side of the world, and therefore maybe it makes considerations for that. I'm just playing solo, and also crossplay is enabled to maximize the pool of players that I could potentially connect to. And with this data collection, what I wanted to find was how long did it take to get into each one of the lobbies from the moment I search for the game to the moment I actually get into the lobby, and then what is the ping value for that particular lobby. And I noticed some very interesting trends here when it came to this. So let's first up just talk about the ping values that I experienced throughout this. The lowest ping value that I experienced was, like I said, between 45 to 50 milliseconds. Keep in mind, I always just rounded my ping values to the nearest multiple of 5 just to get nice clean numbers, and also ping values tend to jump around a little bit, so it's hard to get a pinpoint accurate value on that. But the lowest ping value that I experienced out of these 40 games was 50. And a 50 ping is great. I've got no complaints there. That is my best potential ping in this game, and I've got no problem with that. However, the maximum ping value that I was finding was somewhere around 100 to 105 milliseconds. And I was getting this high ping value relatively frequently. So out of those 40 matches, I got my best possible ping at 50 milliseconds 12 times out of 40. Then I got my bad ping of 100 plus milliseconds 9 times out of 40. And then everything else was somewhere in between. It was either like 70, 80, or 90-ish, somewhere in that range. But basically what I gather from this is I'm pretty much just as likely to get my really bad ping value of 100 plus milliseconds as I am getting my best possible ping at around 50 milliseconds. Overall though, out of these 40 games, my average ping value was 76. And this is a lot of variance in ping, considering the fact that this game is using dedicated servers. And with dedicated servers, one of the biggest reasons to have dedicated servers is you get really good consistency when it comes to your connection quality. In most other games that I've played where they use dedicated servers, you will almost always connect to the same data center with the same ping value. And in many of them, you can actually choose which data center you connect to, so you know you're going to be getting that ping value every single game. Whereas in Black Ops Cold War, sometimes my ping is great at 50 milliseconds, and other times it's literally double that. And in my opinion, this isn't acceptable for one of the biggest AAA shooters on the market with the amount of resources that they have. I know I have said this in the past, but this is something I want to keep pushing for because I feel like this is one of the big areas that Call of Duty is still lagging behind basically the rest of the industry. It actually just makes things more frustrating that you can now see these data centers, but there's no option for you to like choose the data center. I should be able to select one of these data centers and essentially force the game to connect to that data center no matter what. Even if my matchmaking time increases, at least I would know for sure that I'm going to connect to this data center and I'm going to get the best possible connection for me. Now, this is something you can do with a NetDuma router, for instance, and I do have a NetDuma router and I could do that. But I'm trying to look at this from the perspective of the average gamer out there. The average person that's playing this, you shouldn't need to buy a fancy router in order to get the best possible connection experience in one of the biggest franchises in the world. This should be something that's built into the game, and ping really should be king here. And this is where I want to get into matchmaking times as well, because with the data that I collected, I noticed a pretty interesting correlation. It wasn't too surprising, but I wanted to bring it up anyway. And this is, none of my matchmaking times exceeded 1 minute. However, the longer I waited for a match, especially once I got beyond the 50-second mark of matchmaking, this is where I was seeing all of those 100 plus millisecond lobbies. Literally every single one of them occurred after 50 seconds of matchmaking time. And this makes sense because if you actually look at the screen while you're matchmaking, it will start off with a lower ping, and then as time goes on, if it doesn't find you a lobby, it will expand the search. It'll actually tell you that it's expanding the search. And this seems to explain the results that JGod Drifter and I got with our skill-based matchmaking study that we did early on in this game's life cycle, where when we were playing on lower skilled accounts doing our testing, the matchmaking times were much faster, and on average, the ping values were also better compared to the higher skill accounts. So it appears what's going on here is it will take longer to get in a match for a higher skilled player due to the way the matchmaking system works, and therefore you're more likely to get that expanded search radius and therefore a higher ping in the lobby. And essentially what this means is ping is no longer king. It's no longer the #1 variable, as far as I can tell at least, that dictates which lobby you're going to be getting into. Based on the data that I've seen, it seems like the system has no problem expanding that search if it can't find a proper skill match within a reasonable amount of time. But it also wants to make sure that you get into a game within 1 minute. It doesn't want matchmaking times to go beyond 1 minute. And therefore, once you hit that 50-second mark, it seems to trigger something in the matchmaking system that basically just says, throw them into whatever lobby's available. Ping is basically irrelevant at this point. We throw it out the window. We just need to get this person into a match within the next 10 seconds. So I guess that's one tip for you guys. If you are struggling with really inconsistent connections in Black Ops Cold War and you often find yourself getting a much higher ping than you know that you're capable of getting within the game, you could run a stopwatch as you're searching for a match, and if you don't find a match within 50 seconds, stop the search and try again. If you don't stop the search, it's going to throw you into whatever lobby's available, and it's most likely going to be a much higher ping than you're capable of getting, and therefore that's not going to be a great experience for you. And this really reminds me of a great option that we had back in Black Ops 2, and this was the ability to set our matchmaking preference. Back then, we could set our matchmaking so it was either more geared towards speed and just getting you into a lobby within a minute or so, like within a very reasonable amount of time, or you could select the best connection option, and this would potentially increase your matchmaking times, but it would ensure that you got into the best connection lobby possible. Now, this sort of system shouldn't be necessary at all with a dedicated server system. Like I said, it should be as simple as we get to select the data center that we play on, and that's the data center that we play on for every game that we play. However, at the very least, it would be nice to have that option available where you can choose to go for the best connection possible, even if it increases your matchmaking time. I honestly wouldn't mind waiting for another 30 to 45 seconds if that's how long it took to get me into a 50 ping lobby, rather than just throwing me into a 100 ping lobby because it ran out of time with matchmaking and didn't want to take more than 1 minute. This whole issue is also much worse in Black Ops Cold War, as well as last year in Modern Warfare. I was having a similar issue because lobbies don't stay together anymore, or they rarely stay together, for me at least. Sometimes they'll stick together for like a couple games in a row, but even that is quite rare for me, I've noticed. And what this means is we can no longer stay in a lobby once we get a lobby that has a good connection. In all previous Call of Duty games, once you found that lobby where your connection felt great, you could stick with that lobby sometimes all night. Like for a full gaming session, you could be in the exact same lobby with the exact same sort of connection experience, and that's just no longer possible with this system. You might have a perfect connection experience one game, but then after that game, the lobby folds and it searches for a new one, which could then be a much worse connection experience for you, and it's completely taken away any sense of control from the player when it comes to their connection experience. So this is why I really feel as a community, one of the biggest things we should be pushing Activision for, more so for future Call of Duty games, it's probably too late for Cold War at this point, but we should be pushing for a much better connection experience that either provides more control to the player, or just a system that's much more strict on the ping that it ends up giving you in-game. Unfortunately, this is going to be fighting against their entire matchmaking system, which we've been trying to do for the past couple years already. And therefore, it is going to be a tough battle, because if you do give the players more choice here and you allow them to choose their data center, then you're limiting the pool of players they're able to connect to, and you're making their skill-based or engagement-optimized matchmaking system far less effective because you're limiting that player pool. So it really seems that this is the reason why they've decided to take all of that player control away when it comes to the connection experience, because they want to have full control over that match manipulation that they have. But the fact that ping no longer appears to be king here is a very serious issue in my mind, and it's really making other franchises look far more attractive, like Battlefield, for instance, where you actually choose the server that you decide to connect to, and you know exactly what your ping is going to be when you connect to that server. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up here. Of course, I want to know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. First up, I do want to hear your experience as well. Have you noticed that you get very inconsistent ping values from match to match? Like some games you have a much better ping and other games you have a significantly worse ping? Or is it generally pretty consistent for you? And then also, what do you guys think about this data that I've collected and the fact that, at least for me, my ping can literally double from match to match? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.